I think she's a powerful force of good and positive energy.
But she ain't no Elon.
But she also brought us Dr. Oz and The Secret. We have to remember what this lady has done.
She has to be held accountable.
I forgive her, but I mean, cut the shit. The Secret is a particularly egregious offense.
What, you don't believe? You don't believe?
Believe?
I want to be rich. I am rich.
I imagine myself flying. I can fly. I will beat my wings until I take off.
Before Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson showed up like wrecking balls at a tea party, Oprah believed she was in control of the media landscape. Forget book clubs and feel-good vibes. This is pure mayhem. The others started asking her pointed questions and grilling her like she was at a billionaire's barbecue. Will this be the end of Oprah's untouchable aura, or just the start of her biggest PR headache? You won't believe what they just revealed, and Oprah didn't anticipate it.
Oprah Winfrey, she's worth $3 billion. She's up there talking about all the racism she encountered.
But okay, so Oprah Winfrey is American, but Kamala Harris, Jamaicans are not Americans, A. B, not oppressed in any sense. They're actually very successful in the United States. Caribbeans in general, I think, make more than native-born whites. They're successful. They're entrepreneurial. They're not part of the history of racism and slavery in the United States. Just the opposite. They just showed up here. So, this is ridiculous.
She was more than just a talk show host. She was also a spiritual leader, a diet expert, a billionaire cheerleader, and for decades, the unofficial therapist for all American suburban mothers. Her praise was priceless. Her criticism was a death sentence, and she gave away cars like candy, made unknown writers famous, and made people cry for no apparent reason.
Joe Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as how is that equal?
However, it seems that the glitter is gradually and painfully disappearing, and in a classic cosmic irony, the wrecking balls take the shape of two quite unlike media devices. Deadlifts and Joe DMT Tucker and Rogan baptize Carlson in retaliation. Despite not cooperating or even acknowledging one another, they ended up in the same symbolic destruction zone, Oprah's formerly impregnable kingdom.
Have you noticed that it is more controversial to criticize Oprah than to burn the American flag?
Really?
Seems that way. I've never heard anybody criticize Oprah. Do you think it's political or do you think it's deeper than that? You're not like a right winger.
No.
You don't even seem that political.
No, I'm not really. I'm pretty much, just want to do right by the people.
Joe, the patron saint of skeptics everywhere, is an MMA commentator turned podcasting emperor who casually and enthusiastically interviews conspiracy theorists, astrophysicists, hunters, and gym rats. Then one day, Oprah's name is thrown into the mix, not because she said something outrageous, not because of an interview, but simply because Joe's nonsense radar was tingling.
Bro, you remember the time Oprah had that lady on, its face bit off by the chimp?
Stay there.
And she showed her face on TV?
Oh, yeah.
Miraculously, she survived just the unimaginable. Her name is Charla Nash. Charla almost always covers her face with the hat and scarf. She wears it, she says, because she doesn't want to scare people.
The lady was wearing a veil over her face, like, let's see your face. Come on. She pulls the veil away.
Like a note?
What are you doing?
Would you mind lifting the veil? Oh, no. So we can see. You could take the hat off. Oh, the hat comes off. Yep. Okay. All right.
This lady crafted every minute of her media presence like a Fortune 500 product launch while building her brand on genuineness. Joe can almost hear him grinning as he dissects her legacy like an organic protein bar that has gone bad. He recognizes the warning signs and doesn't need a controversy. The wellness rabbit hole is where it begins. All of Oprah's public character is infused with the warmth of self-improvement, but in her opinion, self-improvement entails a never-ending cycle of miracle smoothies, emotional gurus, and dubious life coaches. Joe begins pulling at the strands, endorsing spiritual fads that smack of costly pseudoscience, magical diets, and, of course, the very public oscillation between commercial placement and empowerment. According to Oprah, you can have it all as long as you buy this book, subscribe to this lifestyle brand, and chant at sunrise next to a vision board made of recycled yoga mats. Between his elk meat tirades and kettlebell swings, Joe describes it as follows: commercialization of enlightenment and advertisement masquerading as empathy. He chuckles with a calm, knowing laugh that says, "Oh, so this is what we're doing now." He doesn't yell or get angry. The kind of chuckle that hurts more than 1,000 stitches.
Here's Oprah on abortion.
If you do not have autonomy over this, if you cannot control when and how you choose to bring your children into this world and how they are raised and supported, there is no American dream.
There's no American dream without abortion. That to me sounds like a woman that's had an abortion. I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to me.
Well, it's such a grotesque and crazy thing to say that clearly it's coming from somewhere.
And the army of specialists comes next. Oprah has seen them throughout the years. You know, the people who moved from being wisdom seekers in the daytime to running for the Senate to becoming pharmaceutical salespeople. It seems as if Oprah created a doorway where charisma takes the place of credentials, and Joe is enjoying the circus while eating healthy, non-GMO popcorn. Naturally, he begins to pose awkward questions, not the dramatic gotcha sort, but the straightforward ones that shatter the illusion, such as why the queen of authenticity hangs around with so many individuals who have failed in public relations. The woman who preaches being real has a media operation that rivals the Pentagon in secrecy and control. Joe doesn't need to shout the contradictions. The contradictions do all the heavy lifting, and as his audience leans in to laugh, ask questions, and roll their eyes, Oprah's pedestal begins to look much less stable. Why does every heartfelt moment feel like a trailer for a new product launch?
Did you see the Oprah interview?
No.
It's off the rails.
Yeah,
Off the rails.
I heard about it.
Into fucking wine mom country again.
Wow.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that.
Tim Dillon is the best. Tim Dillon's like, she's saying gypsy curses. What is she saying?
Cut to Tucker Carlson, a very different creature, where Joe uses inquiry and comedy as a scalpel. With a sledgehammer adorned with American flag stickers, Tucker enters the room. In Tucker's world, Oprah is more than simply a media personality. She is a symbol and a tactful Trojan horse for whatever privileged narrative that the establishment wants you to believe. He doesn't give a damn about her book club or her favorite things. He witnesses a millionaire in a compassionate guise delivering morality lessons to Tucker from a marble kitchen in Montecito. The trouble is that he begins to delve into Oprah's endorsements because she is the smiling face of selective indignation. She speaks out when it's hot, remains quiet when it's hazardous, and always manages to land gently on the right side of corporate acceptance. The ones that are political, the ones that are cultural, she has power because of the evasive gestures that always appear to convey a lot while risking nothing at all. What kind of influence and who benefits from it? Tucker wonders, however. He notes that Oprah magically becomes a business behemoth and a feminist idol for everyone. Spiritual mentor, cultural oracle kind queen, but up until now, nobody has seemed to inquire about what goes on behind the scenes.
Oprah, who's involved with Weight Watchers, just apologized for preaching personal accountability over the past decades. She said it's not personal accountability. We're supporting Ozempic. This is becoming, obesity is becoming something.
Do you think Oprah got paid?
She's highly involved with Weight Watchers. Yeah, Weight Watchers has shifted from a personal accountability organization that it's been preaching for decades and is now a prescriber of Ozempic. They've totally changed because Ozempic is a better business model because you never go off of it.
This is insane. So maybe one of the reasons this is accepted, people don't see it as totally crazy as I do.
While Joe is pointing out contradictions, Tucker, bless his cable news heart, tears down the curtain like it's the finale of a reality TV show. He doesn't care about the soft focus lighting or the cozy interviews. He sees the game as a billionaire posing as your life coach and running a media empire that shapes the national mood like clay. Joe is laughing at wellness frauds as Tucker is yelling about control. The concept that Oprah manages to shape public opinion while posing as someone just like us makes Tucker nearly scream. Here's the magic. Although Oprah is no longer a person in their discourse at this point, rather, she is a symbol. Neither of them needs her to reply since she is not invited, she does not appear, and they are not speaking to her. Tucker views her as an elite puppet master wrapped in daytime charm, while Joe sees her as a warning against brand over substance. Despite this, they both seem to agree on one thing. Even though Oprah may still be selling hope, fewer people are purchasing it. What makes this even more cruel is the contrast, as Joe does it with ease and sounds amused. Tucker uses fire to do this, and he sounds deceived. In both instances, Oprah's empire is not just questioned, but also meticulously disassembled. They don't need a smoking gun. No scandal, no startling quotation, simply the constant highlighting of what ought to have been.
Fall down?
Yes, and it's honestly...
She's a little old to be falling down. You loved it?
I loved it.
Wow.
Loved it. She didn't get hurt.
People get hurt.
She's fine.
She's dead.
She died?
Yes.
All right. Ding dong. The witch is dead.
She didn't. Imagine if she did, and I was
if she died from the fall.
About her.
Yeah, we're fucked.
No, she didn't die.
No, she's fine. I just think like
she looks like she got hurt.
It's nice to see billionaires fall.
Oh.
How about that?
Why is Oprah advocating for empowerment and making billion-dollar branding agreements based on people's pain while preaching simplicity from a 65-acre state? Why does she only speak out when everyone in the room is applauding? These aren't assaults. Rather, they're sarcastic exposes, and the internet devours them like the last piece of truth pizza at a vegan retreat. Joe's crowd nods and laughs. Despite having very different demographics, nods, and furrowed brows, Tucker's audience is thinking, wait a second, maybe this lady isn't the untouchable goddess of morality we thought she was. And that is what makes it so beautiful. They just happen to see the same flaws in the facade without working together or comparing notes. When two influential figures from different media outlets come to the same conclusion, it begins to appear less like a coincidence and more like a reckoning. Oprah is too large to cancel, therefore this isn't a cancellation, it's something worse. It's a gradual, agonizing process of public disenchantment when people stop applauding, stop believing, and begin to doubt. It's not a decline in popularity, but rather a subtle deterioration of the brand, and that's much more damaging than a scandal.
Let's think of when The Secret came out. I want to say that was like 2006-ish.
2004.
2006, okay.
Nice.
So 12 years ago, she was 50 years old. How the fuck do you not know when you're 50 years old and worth $1 billion that that's not how it works?
That it's hocus pocus.
Yeah, it's not hocus pocus.
Yeah.
And to sell that to people is crazy. And that's a book that sold, I think I was reading it sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 million copies.
Because Oprah doesn't need defending. She's not going on podcasts. She's not doing cable rebuttals. She's staying quiet, watching, waiting, hoping this little wave of backlash fizzles out. But the truth is once the myth starts cracking, it's hard to glue it back together. People remember, people share clips, people start comparing the woman who told us to find our truth with the empire she built off selling hers for profit. And at the center of the storm, Joe and Tucker each throwing grenades in their own unique way, one with a laugh, the other with a glare, one flexing logic, the other lobbing outrage together without ever meeting, without ever teaming up. They poke enough holes in the Oprah balloon to make it wobble, maybe not pop, but wobble hard enough that even her most devoted fans are starting to feel that sinking feeling. Because once you realize the media queen might just be another brand in the empire of influence, well, you start asking questions, dangerous questions like who made her queen, why? Did we crown her? And more importantly, why didn't we see it sooner? It's not just the questioning that's deadly, it's the timing. The cultural tide has shifted. Once upon a time on the era of digital pirate radio, Oprah was the beacon of morals for the people. But today she lives on a fancy boat with a malfunctioning GPS.
One of the more I want to say disturbing, but it was confusing when that was taking hold with people. When I had friends that were telling me that The Secret is real and that they imagined they were going to fulfill these childhood dreams that they had about whatever, being a fucking astronaut, whatever it would be. There was a couple people that I knew that were trying to tell me that The Secret was going to be the thing and that they had a vision board and they had photographs. They put pictures up of the things that they wanted, like them in front of large crowds and shit. And I'm like, oh boy.
Them in front of large crowds.
This is so not how it works.
Yeah. But they're
Rogan, and they're smiling and sipping a protein shake. He's floating past in a kayak made of elk meat and free speech, pointing out every bright contradiction. He doesn't have to shout since the proof is all around him. Here, Oprah promotes mindfulness and balance while selling you a 10-part documentary series on trauma and including a yoga mat and a lavender candle. Like a bad supplement label, Joe breaks it down and sees through the wellness fog, the expensive water bottles blessed by moonlight, the spiritual advisors and PR teams, and the empire built on 1,000 self-help books that somehow always end up making you the problem. Unless, of course, you purchase her solution. In contrast, Oprah's initial audience, the daytime viewers who saw her as a voice for the voiceless, are beginning to feel deceived. This is not a scandalous betrayal. Rather, it's more like waking up from a long, depressing nap and discovering that your life coach was also selling you the furniture you were crying on Joe about without actually saying it. A woman who once stood for unvarnished, untidy candor is now encased in layers of motivational platitudes, corporate alliances, and designer self-awareness. Tucker is loading up his metaphorical cannon and pointing it directly at the pedestal. He isn't interested in gratitude diaries or green juice. It's not wicked, it's simply brutally clear. He's keeping an eye on politics' wider picture. For Tucker, the power and control wrapped in a grin in addition to being a heavily marketed media tycoon, Oprah is a culture gatekeeper in pearls, determining what is morally and socially acceptable. It's frightening for him to think that after a heartfelt speech, a national debate may change with just one critical look and a whole career stop. According to Tucker, it is the most deceptive because it poses as inspiration but really manipulates behavior, disguising privilege as righteousness and tricking you into thinking for yourself when you are actually simply downloading carefully chosen morals from a billionaire's estate. He raises the curtain as the emotional mascot of the elite class, the one who sells you inspiration while dining with CEOs, the one who makes inequality seem acceptable, and the one who addresses the public while floating 5 feet above them on a cushion of carefully manicured optics and lifetime achievement awards. It hurts not because it's yelled, but because it's true. Tucker lets the numbers do the talking and doesn't need to accuse her of being dishonest. He does not accuse her of being wicked. Rather, he just questions how someone can be so wealthy, powerful, and influential while yet being seen as the voice of the average woman. She is a billionaire brand ambassador, kingmaker, platformer of pseudoscience, and supporter of virtue signaling. Turning gold into tears and selling by the ounce to the audience is the ultimate magician's trick. They're not angry, they're not rioting, they're just blinking and beginning to do the one thing that Oprah's empire can't support in large quantities.